Welcome to Ara de Jardy, just outside Paris, for the fourth leg of this season's Event Rider Masters. When we get here, we're at the halfway point of the season, and really, it's anyone's to take at this point. We've got 40 of the very best in the world here, representing 14 nations and no less than 4 former Event Rider Master leg winners. We're just a couple of miles from the Sun King's Palace at Versailles, but in this beautiful late 19th century stud this weekend, somebody is going to become the King of Jardy. Welcome to the Event Rider Masters. Welcome to the Event Rider Masters 2017. Now in its second year, this is the ultimate eventing series, spanning 7 events in 7 iconic locations across Britain and Europe, culminating at Blenheim Palace, where the series champion will be crowned. The fourth leg of the 2017 Event Rider Masters series travels to Ara de Jardy, just 10 minutes from Paris. And as the riders arrive in France's capital city, the race for the coveted Masters title is beginning to take shape. Competition will be fast and furious as 40 of the world's very best international horses and riders from 14 different countries will be battling it out over the next 2 days for a podium spot and precious series points. This stellar field of eventing superstars and Olympic heroes will be showcasing the finest in equestrianism and tested to their limits across the 3 classic eventing disciplines, from the style and grace of dressage, to the precision and accuracy of show jumping, to the power and adrenaline of cross-country, in their quest for eventing's ultimate prize. This is the Event Rider Masters.
The French have been a dominant force in the Event Rider Masters series, and we expect a strong challenge from the home nation this weekend. And what a weekend it is that we have in store for us. This incredible location sets the scene for 2 days of top-class competition with an exceptional lineup of the world's best coming forward. Well, a very good morning and a warm welcome to Jardy for leg 4 of the Event Rider Masters. It is jumping day and we are expecting that leaderboard to shuffle. We're very excited to be bringing you all of the live action behind the scenes as well. And joining me in the studio for the show jumping phase, Equirating's Derm Byrne, and also Sir Mark Todd will be here as well, giving us his expert opinion. But it's not just us here in the studio. Let's go and say a very good morning to John Kyle.
Thanks, Nicole. Well, obviously great to be here once again, and we're down on the field of play just looking at this big square track that lies ahead of our competitors. 39 going to take to the field today to set the standard going into cross-country later on. And it's fascinating, as I'm sure Derm is going to explain to us in great detail. We have a top 10 that are covered by less than the cost of 2 poles down. And the riders are certainly really treating this course with respect. It's going to be a fascinating morning sport.
Thanks, John. We'll be back with you very shortly, but yesterday was all about the dressage. Let's go back and remind ourselves of just how the action unfolded.
Leg 4 of the Event Rider Masters series in Jardy, France, and day 1 saw the dressage action take place in the Carré Olympique, right in front of the beautiful Pavilion de Jardy Orangerie.
This is a very good competition. I can ride 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, a nice competition for the young horses. That's very important for me.
Yeah, he's feeling on good form. We've managed to get a couple more dressage lessons in between Wiesbaden and here. You know, he feels on great form, but we'll just have to see. It's a very competitive field, but we'll give it our best.
Equirating's predictions of 6 to 8 sub-40 scores in the dressage was more than matched as 10 riders hit the hallowed benchmark. Theresa Wiklund was the first to do so, the Swedish rider scoring a personal best of 38.8 on Diabolik.
The hotly anticipated world number 1, Michael Jung, impressed the crowd with a 35.7 on his Event Rider Masters debut, ending the day in 5th overall. But it was Jung's compatriot, Bettina Hoy on Signor Medicot, who rode an exceptional test to top the day 1 podium.
He is lovely to ride on the flat. Thomas Carlyle said to me, "You're not going to break my record this week." I said, "I promise not to do it." So he put a bit of pressure on me.
Australian rider Andrew Hoy and French rider Thibaut Valette completed the podium in 2nd and 3rd respectively, as we look forward to the show jumping and cross-country phases here at the Jardy International Eventing Show.
Well, the dressage was certainly full of action, and this is how the leaderboard looks after the first phase, the first of 3 phases. It really is the equestrian triathlon of sport. So Signor Medicot, Bettina Hoy and Andrew Hoy, Cheeky Kalimbo, the top 2 spots, but 10 combinations in the 30s and a real feast of nations in there as well. 6 different nations represented in the top 10, but the French, well, we expected the home nation to be strong, and they certainly are. Cadeau Duarte and Cedric Liard, one to keep an eye on for France, just sitting outside of the top 10. But it is a closely tight bunch because just 1 pole separates 11th through to 20th, and then the top 25 are all sub 45.3. Unfortunately, yesterday, Jean Tillert, Matelotte de Grandval choosing to retire in their test. Things not quite right for them, and they'll save themselves for another occasion. But Nereo CP, our first Spanish combination, coming forward as well. 14 different nations represented here this weekend. And let's take a look at how the series stands after 3 legs in the Event Rider Masters. Thomas Carlyle for France, well, he topped the podium last weekend. He can't add to his series points this weekend. So all eyes will turn to Sarah Cohen and Gemma Tattersall, both in the top 15 after the first phase. Then, well, the man joining us for the show jumping, Sir Mark Todd, will be looking to add to his series points that he won last weekend in Barbary with that podium finish. And Bill Levitt as well for Australia, another looking to build on that total. So the series leaderboard, we expect it to change a lot after this weekend in leg 4 as we head into the rest of the series. We're at the halfway point and it promises to be an exciting finish. So let's just take a few moments to look back on yesterday's dressage. The quality of the field was brilliant and there was incredible strength in depth.
Yeah, I mean, to come out with 10 scores sub 40 gives you a really good indication as to what we saw yesterday. Looking back at how that pairs up against other Event Rider Master legs, only Chatsworth, the very first leg of the very first series in 2016, came out with 12, and again, huge strength. To give you an idea, the record score here at Jardy, up until the Event Rider Masters class arrived, was held by the same man who holds the Event Rider Masters dressage record, Tom Carlyle. He was here on Sirocco de Gert 2014, 36.4. That was the record. All of the top 5 have gone underneath that. So Bettina did break one of Tom's records yesterday. It wasn't the Event Rider Masters one, but all the top 5 have set a new record here at Jardy.
And Mark, you're in 9th place overnight, 39.0. Happy with that?
Well, you'd always like to be a bit higher. You know, the horse he's fairly consistent. He's not the world's best in dressage, but, you know, as we were saying, we looked at this field before we came here, and it's a really, really strong field. So it's no surprise that we've got the scores that we have. It'll be tough from here on in.
Ready to climb in the jumping phases. Well, one of the things about the Event Rider Masters that makes it so special is our partnership with technology giants SAP, and there are lots of really exciting ways for you to get involved as well. Let's take a closer look.
The Event Rider Masters series in 2017 is going to be super exciting. It's not only exciting to be part of the series, but to watch it on TV is going to be amazing. It's all going to be about speed. It's all going to be about time penalties cross country. We're going to be going to Blenheim, we're going to be going to Wiesbaden and Jardy. Each of these events all have a different angle. When there's a horse on TV, we don't want people anymore just thinking, that's pretty, we know who that rider is. We want to be able to know, this is where they're averaging in the dressage. This horse is a horse that can make the time. This is a horse that can keep up the show jumps. We want new audiences being able to get that context really early, as soon as they turn on. We have our cross-country tracking devices, which will go on every rider, which will enable us to know how fast every horse is going at every instant in time and watch them on the map so we know exactly where they are in the course. and it just makes it so much more an immersive experience for our viewers. So you're going to know all of those things that the rider is feeling normally. All of that technology from SAP is going to enable the viewer to experience that excitement and adrenaline too.
Well, we're about 5 minutes away from the first horse coming into the arena here in Jardy, so let's go and see John.
Thanks, Nicole. Yes, the excitement is really building here at Jardy as people stream in to watch these best horses and riders in the world take on the jumping this morning. And I'm joined by three of our competitors. First of all, overnight leader Bettina Hoy. Bettina, you are on an absolute roll at the moment. You've got two great horses. This is an exciting time for you.
It's very exciting, and I really enjoy every moment of it.
Tell us about your horse here, Senior Medicot, and what you expect today and your feelings after yesterday.
Well, I was really pleased with his dressage yesterday. He really pulled off what I expected. He is still green, although he's 11. He won the last 4 international competitions, so I know the pressure is on. But at the end, for me, this is a stepping stone to the European Championships in Stregum, where he's going in a few weeks' time. My top hot favorite is Thibaut.
And your horse today, you know, you spoke a little bit about his jumping at Le Moulin your last time out, and you said he's a good jumper.
He has become better. He is still sometimes a bit weak off the floor, but he's become a really good jumper over the last few events, so I hope he can pull it off today.
Thanks, Bettina. Colonel Thibaut Valette for France, Bettina's choice. You're lying in 3rd place with your Olympic gold medal winning horse, King de Brio. What do you think of our course today?
Here it's always quite difficult to make a great show jumping, but King is a very good jumper, we will see.
And your experience of the Event Rider Masters, now we've come to you so you can ride in our series. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's really good for the sport and for eventing. I already made Chasseurs last year with King. He was second, and it was a very good preparations for Rio. So we are very happy to have a leg here in France, in Jardy, and it's very good for our sport here.
Thank you, Colonel. And Will, you are our young gun this week, and now if we look at your record, we're not surprised, but you've kind of blown onto the circuit here and you've had an exciting start.
Yeah, no, it's my ERM debut, so it's my first time. I've actually been to Jardy a few times before, so I sort of know what it's going to be like, and the course is no different to how it usually is. It's very technical, and there's lots of places where you could slip up in the cross country.
Debut, so what's your confidence level? Do you want to be #1 on the podium, or you go, I want to be top 5?
I think I've got to be slightly realistic. I'm here competing against these two and some of the best combinations in the world. So I'm just looking for a good run and see how it goes, really.
Well, guys, Will, Thibaut, Bettina, best of luck today, and we look forward to watching you. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, John. We can't wait to get underway here, but let's take a look at that running order. The show jumping and the cross country both in reverse order of merit. Derm, the Equa Ratings ones to watch.
And she's going to be 4th into the ring, Lara the Lady Kirka on Nyala Darville. That's going to be my first clear round that I'm expecting. I think Nereo CP is one that could have a clear round before that, but keep an eye on Nyala. If we look a little bit further down, Dante is the one here that I want to look at. Dante K, and again jumping consecutive clear rounds all year. As you get into this later group, I would say Cadeau de Roy, Cedric Liard is your one in that, coming just before Oliver Townend. Oliver Townend also very strong. Don't forget Trouble Fay. That's Upsilon's full brother, so he can jump as well. And then you get into the end. This is where it gets really exciting. The 2 French ones are the ones to watch for me in this phase. Senior Medicot, of course, we're going to come to him. He has had poles previously. He has improved that, but the 2 French boys, and Tebe de who jumped clear at Rio, and King de Brio, who jumped clear at Badminton, they're the ones to watch for me.
Well, we're about to get underway very shortly, but just quickly, the show jumping has caused a huge amount of influence in the Event Rider Masters series. Are we expecting more of the same here?
It's varied hugely, Nicole, and we're going to find out a huge amount from the first, I would say, 5-6 combinations. We found that out at Barbary. We had clear rounds at Barbary, probably much earlier in the phase than we expected. Barbary 2016, a 33% clear rate. Chatsworth 2016 a 42% clear rate, but Barbary 2017 a 60% clear rate. So it didn't pull the influence that I felt it should have at Barbary. I'm expecting it to be different today. We don't have the same strength in the show jumping. It's a different surface. There's a huge amount of variance. I'm expecting it to be influential.
Well, let's just look at a few of the key facts for the show jumping, because the total distance 490 metres and 79 seconds is the time allowed. So we get underway with Anna Fresgard for Sweden with box QT 58.6. That left her in 39th position overnight. But Sir Mark Todd in the studio with us, and just give us your thoughts on the course, Mark, because it's a tough track out there.
It is, and you know, the great thing about this series is all the venues are different. Like last week we were in Barbary, totally different show jumping. On grass, big open field, different levels. Here we're in an arena on a sand surface, much tighter related lines. We've got a little bit of everything. There's bending lines, there's straight lines, there's turnbacks, there's jumping into the crowd. So as Derm said, it'll be interesting to see just how well this is going to ride.
Well, the clock is green as things stand at the moment. 20 seconds left to get home. And Anna, very experienced. I don't think she's going to do the time, is she, Mark? She's very close already, and she's still got the final line.
Yeah, no, she's looked very steady, and she is going to get time faults.
So coming to the final line, that maximum width oxer. And then the final Liverpool going into the combination and out. The clock's turned red, and those time penalties clock up 1 time penalty for every second over the time allowed, and that is 8 time penalties and 4 jumping penalties, so 12 to add for Anna Fresgard and box QT for Sweden. Are you surprised at the time there, Toddy?
No, not really. I mean, as I said, she looked like she was going very steady. Of course, as we know, after three riders go, if the ground jury decide that the time is too tight, they can alter it. But who have we got coming up next, Derm?
We have Nereo CP, Albert Hermoso Faras, our first Spanish competitor in the Event Rider Masters. This is going to be interesting because not overly slow, so I don't expect time to run away too much, but also a good jumper. So we're expecting, you know, reasonably close on the expected ratings to a clear round. So it's going to give me a first indication. I think I'm waiting for Lara de Liedekerke for my first certain clear round, but this is going to be good, I hope.
The interesting thing for me was that first Swedish rider. She did all the distances on the number of strides that we walked, but she was very slow. So we may have to sort of end up cutting corners and just being a bit tighter with our lines to make sure we don't get time faults. This is a 5-stride distance coming up here, jumping into the crowd. Nice jumper, this horse. And then we've got the Event Rider Masters, the plank, very airy fence, but they jump that well.
And just talk us through that option, because they can go for the slightly easier alternative, but it's a little bit longer.
Yeah, quite frankly, I didn't like the alternative. It is lower, it's a bit longer, but it's also jumping directly into the crowd, and it's very airy. They seem to jump these Event Rider Master planks pretty well.
Well, Nereo CP had 1 down at Le Moulin, but has jumped clear at Barocca, at Pau, at Lausanne, at Le Moulin, so no stranger to clear rounds in his last 6 runs.
Now that bending line there, he took 1 stride less between those 3 fences than the last rider. And he's going to make the time.
So,
just out.
1 time penalty, a jumping clear round, but just sneaking over that time allowed of 79 seconds. Albert Hermoso Faras for Spain, making his Event Rider Masters debut with Nereo CP, owned by Miquel Alemany Hospital. And a very experienced horse, went clear across the country at Pau last year. But that was a very classy round. It was a shame about that time penalty.
Very, very nice round. And, you know, all the riders at the other end of the scoreboard will be watching this. And making plans. You know, where can we shave a second off? Where can we save half a second? So you don't, those time faults, when it's this close in the scoreboard, you cannot afford to have a time fault. It can make a big difference.
Well, a time fault made a big difference for our current leader, Bettina Hoy and Senior Medicott. When they were at Blair, they actually had 2 down that day, but it was the time fault which put them behind Oliver Townend going cross country. When they had their problem cross country, Oliver heard that on the loudspeaker, allowed him to slow up Kilnabrit Nevo, and went on to win that leg at Blair. Completely changed the course of the series. So it's very fine margins. It was a time fault that cost her that day.
Well, now coming forward for the home nation, the first of our French riders, a strong contingent. 14 of the 40 riders entered were from France, and it is Benjamin Massey with Uno Vive Debonair. Comes forward on 56.0. Can't afford to have a pole down to stay ahead of Nereo CP in 37th position overnight, this combination. And it'll be interesting to see. Both the first 2 combinations have had time penalties, Mark. The ground jury do have that option after the first 2 combinations to adjust that time.
Yeah, we'll see what this guy does. And as I said, you know, now that riders know that the time is tight, you can start taking tighter lines. You turn back to fences a bit quicker. You've got to jump and turn. You see, he turned very quick there. Then you've got to move a little bit to the planks and trust that they're going to jump them. And of course, when the time is tight, sometimes you have to move a little bit more, and then horses can make mistakes. And here you'll have to move. Oh no, not down to that line. After this fence, move around this turn. You see he's moved quickly and turn back quite tight to this. And I think we're going to have to go on 7 strides down this line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, it sort of got an across canter, and he went a bit wider there. I think you're going to have to keep moving on the 7 and
when you're looking at going wider, that's exactly where we're looking at the time penalties occurring, on how tight those lines are.
And again, time penalties and the pole down in the final double as well. So an expensive finish to Benjamin Massey's show jumping round for France. He just drops the 1 place, 1 pole and 3 time penalties for him.
Well, the good news, guys, is that the expected scores are coming up very much on par with what we're seeing. So at Barbary, potentially, we had people who were jumping clear who we would have expected to have the faults. We're bang on what we expected here. Yeah. And if we continue that run, we should be hopefully moving towards a clear round in our next one. Yeah. Nyala Darville, Lara de Liedekerke, she's been clear at Buccleuch, clear at Vairano, clear at Marbach and clear at Lamulin. 4 consecutive clears. She's coming in here to try and make that 5.
Yeah. And I think you'll find, you know, as you get up to the slightly more experienced riders, Lara's a very experienced, good rider, better horses. I think you'll start to see a few clear rounds, but time is definitely going to be important. And as I said, you know, when the time is tight, that's when mistakes happen.
Lara de Liedekerke, so experienced for Belgium. And she was saying yesterday that she's recently back from actually having started a family. She's come back very much to the top level of the sport, and certainly will be aiming for those European Championships in Stragon in August.
Well, this 9-year-old mare was actually ridden by her husband Kai Steffenmeyer at Le Lyon 2015 in the 2-star. He had a pull down that day, but looking at the recent record, it's with Lara on board, this young mare, it's been a lot of clear rounds. So she'll be hoping to keep that up today. There hasn't been any time penalties in their last 6 runs, so keeping an eye on these tight lines is also going to be interesting.
She's not giving her the easiest ride, but she's a very good jumper.
Ooh. Just another combination that it gets expensive in that final line. You can almost feel them just pushing for the time, and unfortunately pays the penalty because 1 pole down and 2 time faults. 1 time fault for every second over that optimum time. So Lara de Liedekerke and Nyala Darville, they add 6 on to their time.
It was interesting to walking the course. The ground, they've watered this the sand a lot, and with this type of sand, it jumps much better when it's wet. But down that grandstand side with the last line of fences, it's much drier. They've put less water on there. Also, the distance from the oxer to the first part of the double there is a little bit forward, and I think people are having to move to get the 6 strides there.
Well,
But
the
then-
time's obviously influential, but one man has gone clear with 1 time penalty, and he is talking to John.
Thanks, Nicole. Yes, our best so far is Spanish Olympian Albert Hermoso Ferraz, just that 1 second over.
Yeah, just 1 second over. I felt that I was fast enough, but the time must be so tight.
Do you think now that people have seen your experience that we'll see clears inside the time?
Yeah, here in the show jumping, yeah, for sure. It's a lot of good riders to come yet, and a lot of good horses for sure. We're going to be seeing a lot of clear runs on time.
Well, Albert, 1 time penalty today, but you've given them the clue to unlock the secret. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Well, now coming forward, Alex Huatian for China with Don Gennaro. This combination who won an Event Rider Masters leg at Bramham last year remain the only combination to win a leg by finishing on their dressage score, and things, it is safe to say, did not go to plan for them in the dressage yesterday. 55.1, much higher score than Alex would have been hoping for. That left them in 35th place overnight.
There he went to go on the 7 strides, but the horse decided to add 1 in there and paid the penalty.
The clock turns red as he comes towards the final lines. There's going to be time penalties as well, and they really do add up very, very quickly. He's going to drop a few places on the leaderboard, and an expensive round for Alex Huatian for China with Don Gennaro. 1 pole down, but some time penalties to add to that as well. 15 time penalties to add. So Alex Huatian, Don Gennaro, things definitely not going to plan for him this weekend. A real shame. He's been so supportive of the Event Rider Masters series.
We're going to see a very different result here from Barbary, aren't we, Durham? I mean, the show jumping here is going to have a real influence.
It's going to have a huge influence, and I think the first thing that we've all talked about, and we've talked about it all the way through, is it's going to be the time that is the difference, because yes, there'll be poles down, and we'll often see that at any event, but it's certainly going to be tight time. And as you say, Nicole, 1 second, 1 penalty, it gets very, very expensive. When you think how hard riders work to get below 40 into dressage, time penalties here can completely turn that around on you.
It definitely can. And this young lady making her Event Rider Masters debut for Sweden, one of 4 Swedish riders in the field, it is Hannah Berg, with her sister Matilda Berg's quite survivor. 54.9, they're in 34th position overnight. Could actually afford a pole down to stay ahead of Nereo CP and Albert Hermoso Ferraz, but I think it is safe to say she'll look to go for that clear round to hold that position, because a clear round will climb the leaderboard. We're still yet to see a combination add nothing from this second phase.
She's jumping a nice round, but I would say she's not going quick enough to make the time at this stage. But
yeah, interesting observation, because she does have some time penalties on her record. She had 1 down at Lemoulin last time out and picked up time penalties that day. But generally, as you say, a good jumper, a good line of consecutive clears. Clear at Stragon, clear at Sopot, and clear at Lemoulin in the CIC 2-star earlier in the year. So can jump, but I think you're right, Mark, looking at the time ticking down, they still have this final line to ride.
So she clears the Paris Metro vertical down to the Liverpool in the double, and the time penalties clock up 5 time penalties. Clear jumping, but those 5 time will send her into the cross country on 59.9, and that actually just drops below Albert Hermoso Ferraz. Well, Albert in 38th position overnight, and he's already climbing up the leaderboard, so we'll expect him to be our first big climber. But plenty more action to bring you here. Don't forget to get involved, get in touch with us using social media at Event Rider Masters, and vote, of course, for your Supergroom. Hashtag ERM Supergroom, because we all know it takes a huge team to keep these horses and riders on occasion on the road, and we're very, very grateful to those riders who do such a brilliant job. Well, next to go, Clara Loiseau for France with Isabelle Peters' Won't Wait, and it's a combination that actually have happy memories here at Jardy. They've been in this arena before. They were 14th individually at the Young Rider European Championships back in 2013. 13 years of age, Won't Wait by Starborough.
I've actually been here since that as well, Nicole. They were here in the 3-star in 2016 where they did jump a clear round and they were inside the time in the show jumping that day. The recent form that they have to turn around is from late last year from Vargam where they did 2 down. So it's there are lots of clear rounds. They've been here before, they have the experience of it, but they've got to turn that around.
Well, this time looks a little bit tighter, Mark, quicker time.
Yeah, but I was just watching there. She came from the ERM fence to the combination. She went a little bit wide. I think you've just really got to, that's one place where you've got to turn in and trust that they're going to jump in there and not waste too much time. It's a really technical course to ride this.
So coming down the final line, the clock is going to be very tight. She's jumping clear at the moment, just the last to go, and it's going to be a time fault, a single time fault for Clara Loiseau, and Won't Wait for the home nation. But I'm sure she'll be very, very pleased with that, because that was a very classy round from this young lady, and she'll go forward to the cross country this afternoon, holding her position, and she'll likely climb the leaderboard as well. 55.3 her total score. But Mark, the tempo going round the course, you can't waste a second. You've got to be so economical.
And it's all about your line as well. You know, you go a little bit wide on a turn, and that's that you're 1 second gone. And so to be consistent around the how many fences have we got? 12 fences, and riding that line and having the horse stay careful and jump the fences clear, it's tough.
So now we turn our attentions to one of the most experienced riders in the field. Representing Belgium, it is Karen Donkers with Conte Z. Rides this 10-year-old mare for Dirk Vermeeren. Karen, so experienced, actually broke her neck back in Sydney 2000, but she's been on the top of the sport for such a long time. She's been to 6 European Championships, 6 Olympics as well. And this very much one of her young up-and-coming top horses. So Karen Donkers for Belgium, Conte Z.
One of the best rated show jumpers in the field, so we're expecting poles to stay up, but do keep an eye on those tight lines, because the last time out at Riensvoud in the CIC 3-star, we did see time penalties in the show jumping, 3 time penalties that day.
These horses that sort of, mind you, she's moving between the fences, but then she has to sort of bring them back, and horses that sort of fight and argue with you a little bit, and now she's gone a bit wide there. I would say she's now going to be, she's gone very steady down this line.
So she's turning to the final line with 8 seconds left on the clock.
She's going to be over as well, I think.
And she comes down to the final double, still jumping clear, but the clock is about to turn red. It does so, and 3 time penalties, jumping clear, but those 3 time penalties for Karen Donkers and Conte Z. We'll see her go forward to the cross country on 55.1. So she'll hold her position. And she looked to be up on the time, and then all of a sudden, just towards the end of the track.
It was the turn back to that bending S line. She sort of got on a backward stride, and then she stayed on that backward stride and probably wasted 3 or 4 seconds there.
Is there any part of it so far, Mark, that having walked it before the riders began to ride it, that you might, that you're looking at it now when you see it here from an overview, that you think that's an area I could make up time, or that's a line that I would love to follow?
I think you can't be in a hurry, because if you're in a hurry, you'll end up having a poles down, but you've just got to get into a good rhythm, keep that rhythm, and keep your line tight all the way.
So now we turn our attentions to the Netherlands, to Merrill Blom, and Merrill comes forward with the youngest horse in the field, the 8-year-old, the Quizmaster. 51.8 they scored in the dressage, and in 31st position overnight. So could actually not afford to have a pole down to stay ahead of Karen Donkers.
And I guess, you know, riding an 8-year-old, you're not going to be sort of really pushing it. She's gone a little bit wide there. She looks like she's just taking her time and trying to go for a clear round and not worrying too much about the time.
We actually talked yesterday, Mark, in her dressage. She gave the horse a really lovely experience because he got a bit tense in the middle, and part of that was just building him for the future.
Yeah, you know, 8-year-old, he's probably never been in an atmosphere like this before. You know, there's quite a lot of crowd there, there's people around, there's lots going on, and they need to get this mileage, this experience to build for the future.
Well, they'll be very pleased with how things are going so far, because their recent form, they've had 2 down at Lemoulin, 2 down at Stragom and 2 down at Le Lion. This is looking very good for this young 8-year-old and Merrill Blom so far. They'll be pleased if they can keep it to just time penalties.
Well, a lovely clear jumping round. The time penalties do clock up, but Merrill understandably very pleased with that for this 8-year-old. The Quizmaster and Merrill Blom, 6 time penalties to add. Well, Mark, we're going to say a very big thank you to you. You're heading off to get ready for your round, and we'll wish you a lot of luck.
Now that I hopefully know what I've got to do, I've just got to try and do it.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you a little bit later, and best of luck. But now let's go down to John.
Thanks, Nicole. I'm here with Karen Donkers. Now, Karen, we know you and your horse, you can both do it, and yet 3 seconds over. Are you surprised?
Yeah, I thought I had moved up. Maybe it's like Mark Phillips said, I'm getting a bit older. No, I thought I had a forward round. Yeah, I was a bit surprised with the 3 time penalties, so you really have to move up, I think.
And where do you think potentially you could have made a difference?
Yeah, I think between 6 and 7 I was a bit too much waiting, and then maybe from 8 to 9. Yeah, you can choose 8 outside, 7 inside. That's maybe somewhere where you can pick up 1 or 2 seconds quickly. So yeah, you really have to ride your lines tight and really keep going and moving up.
Well, thanks for your time, Karen. Well done anyway.
Okay, thanks.
Well, Mark Todd's gone off to get ready for his round, and we're very pleased to be joined in the studio by China's Alex Huatian. Alex, you've jumped the track. What were your initial thoughts?
Good morning. Well, actually, I'm not too disappointed with the Don. We had a couple down, but we had a little bit the curse of the tower again. And I hadn't realised when I was walking the course that tower was behind fence 1, so we nearly didn't jump fence 1.
He's had a real bugbear about this arena this weekend, hasn't he?
Yes, and it's been disappointing overall, but his quality of his jumping was okay, and the rest of it was fine. And just coming to fence 8, he looked at the tower again, so I had a wonky one at fence 8, which then gave me a wonky one at fence 9. And so, you know, that's the way it is.
Horses sometimes. Well, in the arena now for the home nation, Alex Rock with Dante K. rides this 9-year-old mare for owner Florence Fouché, and had the first down. And that's actually the first time, Alex, that we've seen the first.
Yeah, maybe looking at the tower again. Maybe there's another horse out there with the curse of the tower. Would be nice. But it seems to be jumping quite nicely afterwards.
Well, I think that certainly on the data we wouldn't have been expecting a pull down from Dante K. They have jumped clear already at Chaumont, Vaccine, Jardy and Le Pouget. Both of those at the level below other than Le Pouget, which is a CIC 3-star. So how are we looking at time here coming into the last 10 seconds?
He'll struggle to make it down this final line. He's already dropped below Karen Donkers and Clara Loiseau, but just to that final combination. Rubs the last, and I think the last went actually, or no, 5 time penalties. So just rattled the last, but got away with it. 5 time penalties and 4 jumping for Dante K, and that'll drop him a few places down on the leaderboard. And those combinations of Clara Loiseau and Karen Donkers, well, those economical rounds with just a few time penalties, continuing to see them rise up the leaderboard. Alex, we were talking to Mark a lot about how you have to, there's no time to waste in that arena to get the time. You've just got to keep going.
And I wonder, has anybody actually made the time?
No, no one inside.
No one inside time. Yeah, it is very fast, and there are a few traps out there to catch you, especially the last fence. You know, you've got that related distance on 6 down to the double, and a very interesting water tray under that upright into the double, which really pushes the horses to jump it generously. And if you're coming quick anyway, you're coming into that double quick and then jumping generously in, you then get caught coming out, which is exactly what happened to the Don. So, so plenty of traps out there for those who are trying to go a little bit quicker.
Lots to jump. We knew it wouldn't be a dressage competition, and it is certainly shaping up that way. But what can this man do? He was just off the podium last week in Barbary for France, Sydney Dufresne, and Swing de Perdrier, 50.6 in 29th position overnight. But he's not a million miles away off the top 15. So a clear round with good time would certainly see him climb. And he's one of the quickest that we've seen so far to this Oxa.
Did jump clear and inside the time in the show jumping here in this arena last year. They've only jumped one international show jumping round since that, and that was a pole down, but they have the course experience, Nicole. One down.
There we go.
And that's the water tray you mentioned.
No, that's another water tray. This is this. So you watch here, this Oxa, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have that big water tray underneath, which pushes the horses out underneath that front rail of that Oxa.
And again, the time penalties clock up. 11 to add for Sydney Dufresne and Swing de Perdrier. And that actually, for what was the most part a really beautiful round, Alex, it gets expensive very quickly.
It does. It does. And I think it'll be interesting to see, because the that last combination, I think there is an option to go 7 strides down there and possibly not have that last fence down. But then it's obviously time.
And actually, he had the first part of the final double, which added up as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So next to go, Hanne Vinde Ramsgaard for Denmark, with Vestervang Zarami coming forward as the first of our combinations, sub 50. It gets very close now at the top of the leaderboard. 28th position overnight. We're still waiting for our first clear round here. Leg 4 of the Event Rider Masters. It's a tough show jumping track, and as expected, it's rattling the leaderboard.
So it's a great challenge, really. You know, it's great for ERM and it's great for eventing in general. It's so good for us riders at the top of the level to be challenged at what we would normally say is a CIC 3-star. So what would be a warm-up run for maybe the top horses for their championships, or a warm-up run for the top horses for a 4-star. And to have these ERM classes with these really serious show jumping tracks gives us an opportunity to be seriously challenged, which I think we all need to be done.
And actually, I think 2 poles went there, because the St James's Place vertical after that treble, that went as well. So 8 to add for Hanne Vinde Ramsgaard and Vestervang Zarami so far.
Third.
Well, 3 down, but in line with the recent form. They had the same score at Sopot earlier this year in April. They had 3 down that day. Can they keep it to that?
So Hanne Vinde Ramsgaard and Vestervang Zarami, they complete an expensive round for them. 16 to add, 12 jumping and 4 time. They go forward on 65.8. 37th position, so they drop down the leaderboard. And unfortunately, expensive round for them. But the climbers, well, they continue to be Karin Donkers and Clara Loiseau, just picking up a couple of time faults, and they will continue their climb up the leaderboard. Karen already 5 places. She's climbed up the leaderboard, and she'll be hoping to make it well inside the top 25. Now is the young lady who was one of the fastest across the country last year, Anna Zima for Germany with FRH Butts Avondale. 47.0, 27th position overnight. Could actually afford a pole down to stay ahead of Karin Donkers, but she wants to put the pressure on those coming ahead of her. And Alex, dimensionally, this is a big track as well as technical.
Yes, it does. I think we've had the ERM measuring stick out there, not the normal CIC 3-star measuring stick. It's been quite, you know, it's been interesting walking around it. It's not just the height of these fences. It's the technicality. You have fence 2 to 3 to 4, the snaking line. You have the planks on that tight line to the treble, which is a big square treble, and then you have 8, 9, 10 another snaking line, and then that last line down to the double. You know, it's all out there to get you.
Now, Anasima was a couple of seconds up on our previous competitors coming to that line. So the time was looking reasonably good, but just has the upright at 9 down and comes round to the final line. That goes as well. So 2 down so far at the final double. The clock's about to turn red, and 2 time penalties. So 10 to add for FRH Butts Avondale. Anasima, Anna, based in Lemoulen, has had some really good results on this horse, including a 5th place in this class 12 months ago. But 10 to add, that will see her go on 57.0. And actually that will see Karen Donkers and Clara Loiseau climb that leaderboard even more. We're yet to see our first clear round. Just talk us through that, because up until that point, Alex, she'd jumped immaculately.
I think maybe, I don't know, how old is this horse, do you know, Dan? Maybe it's a little bit younger, or maybe it's lacking a little bit of experience.
10-year-old.
10-year-old, so it's a bit on the younger side, and it's very intense in there. The pace, keeping up the momentum, keeping the horse's attention and focus and carefulness, and that's quite often what happens with the younger horses. At the end of the track, they've sort of got that focus capital, which they eventually run out of, and then start making mistakes towards the end.
So now we turn our attentions to our sole Italian representative in the field. It is Pietro Roman with Antonella Ascoli's Baradaf, and another to have the first.
He perhaps came in a little bit underpowered to the first. And again, he's just coming very quietly. You know, maybe this is very tactical from Pietro. He just wants to jump a nice, quiet, soft round.
I think the goal here, looking at the numbers, is going to be to minimize the show jumping damage. He's a horse that is very strong. He's a very strong jumper in the cross country, an Irish sport horse by Carol House. But the show jumping phase is the one that they need to make sure to keep as many poles up as they possibly can. They had 2 down at Bratoni, they had 3 down at the Olympics in Rio, and 2 down at Strigom. That's just their last 3 runs. There are 2 here. Can they keep it to 2?
Yeah, and you can see Pietro, the stride or 2 before the fence, you can really see him softening to the horse and allowing the horse to try and use its shoulder as much as possible. And perhaps that's what this horse struggles with. You know, the couple that he's had down, he's really sort of sat on with his front end. And Pietro, I think, is trying to give it as much space as possible to allow those shoulders to come up.
So the time penalties start clocking up and the places start to fall, unfortunately, for Pietro Roman for Italy with Baradaf, and 6 time penalties to add to those 2 poles down for Italy. 59.9. He slips down the leaderboard to 31st position.
And to be fair to Pietro, actually, the horse didn't jump badly. And you know, this first fence we're watching him have down now, and then the fence coming out after the treble, I felt for Pietro, because to me the horse was just a little bit casual at those.
As a rider, having the first fence down, is it something that as you get more experience you learn to block out, or is it something that stays with you in a round?
I think it very much depends on the situation. You know, if Pietro is jumping now, he's probably feeling on a horse that's perhaps not so good in the show jumping arena. He's probably not feeling too disappointed. If you were in the top 5 on a good jumper and you have the first down, you'd be kicking yourself for sure.
Well, this next combination were one of my favourites from the dressage yesterday. They did a really lovely test for 45.3. That left them in 25th place overnight. That is how tight this leaderboard. It is Heel Van Hoosha and Azrael, and actually just 1 pole covers 25th place all the way up to 14th place. So a clear round from Heel could certainly see him start to climb up the leaderboard.
Well, it would be a surprise on the numbers, Nicole. We had 3 down at Barbarocco, we had 3 down at Greenswood. That's their last 2 rounds. So can they turn that recent form around?
Well, this is a big, strong horse. You can see is quite a different type to the other horses we've seen in this arena. That are perhaps more of the traditional rangy eventing type. This is a big, strong horse. I watched it working in for its dressage as well. And it's jumping quite convincingly at the moment. You know, it looks like it's needing a bit of help from the rider. Oops. Commentator's curse, sorry.
Welcome to our world. But actually, he just almost put an extra stride in on that line, didn't he? And just took an extra pull, made the dog leg a real curve. And unfortunately, just the one pole down. The clock's about to turn red. And he'll just look to clear the last, which he does. 6-time penalties.
Yeah, he's happy. He's happy with the horse.
One pole down for Heel Van Hoosha and Azrael, 55.3. And that will see him just drop below Karen Donkers.
Oh, Karen's doing well, isn't she?
She's climbing a lot. She was in 32nd place coming into the show jumping, and she's already up to 25th. So, Derm, we've got our first big climber.
Well, Contazad is not one that we would, not one that we're surprised at climbing. The only horse in the field, there are 2 horses in the field who are more highly rated in the show jumping phase than Contazad. That's Nyala Darville, Lara de Liederkirke. She had a pole. We weren't expecting that one, but the other one is still to come. Cadeau de Roy and Cedric Liard. They're currently sitting in 11th position. I'm expecting a clear round from them. They're on 7 in a row. They're a little bit later, but they'll be a climber as well.
So now we turn our attentions to France's Maxime Debost with Kurt de Montplaisir, 44.9. In 24th position. Well, that is the quality of the field, because 44.9 is still a very, very good score. Now
he can 50%.
He's just rattled the Land Rover Oxer, but it stays in the cups, comes back to the Event Rider Masters planks. And Alex, we've seen most people take that much shorter plank alternative.
I think everybody's realizing quite how tight the time is now, and that you do have to take those risks to get as close as you can. I think personally at the moment it looks like the time's relatively unachievable unless you have a winner of the Speed Derby at Hickstead to bring in here. But that challenges riders and horses, and like we were saying before, that's perhaps what we need to see sometimes in the sport.
And we've seen a few go very close, but unfortunately just a couple of poles dropping on that line. Fence 10 goes as well for Maxime Debost, Kurt de Montplaisir. He holds his position, can't afford another one to stay ahead of Karen Donkers. And he doesn't, but, I thought we were going to see our first combination inside the time. Not quite. 1-time penalty, 9 to add for Maxime Debost for France. He holds his position. He'll be going forward to the cross country on 53.9 and in 24th position at the moment. Alex, just talk us through this line, because the course design has been really clever. It's a real S-bend.
Yes, so I think it's 8, 9, 10. And I got caught out here because of the turn left to the big Oxer inside that upright. You're turning back towards the TV tower. So it's a big Oxer, and you've got to get a good distance down to that upright to then get a good line and a good distance back to that water tray. And it's obviously the horse has got to try and land on the correct lead. If not, you've got to do a flying change or come a little bit unbalanced on the incorrect lead. So it's, to me, watching these horses go around, walking this course, it seems like the course designer's turned his bag of tricks upside down and used as much as he can.
And we've seen another that's taken the first and the second. The SAP Oxer goes as well for Maxime Livio for France. Picador.
First 3 down.
First 3 down. He clears the Land Rover parallel, maximum width, that dimension, comes back to the Event Rider Masters planks.
Well, first 3 down, this we did not expect. Don't forget, Picador has finished second as Jardy back in 2014. They have had their last round at CIC 2-star was clear already this season. They've once before had 2 down. That was at Gatcombe Park. So this is unusual territory for Maxime Livio and Picador.
And he seems to be jumping much better now.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't really know what to say, to be honest. I think maybe the horse just wasn't quite focusing at the beginning. It's really got to be the focus if the horse has had the first 3 down.
I think we could be good for time here. Coming in here with 6 seconds, this is what we've been looking for. Time is going to be okay, I think it is. It's the first one inside the time, but those 12 penalties, very, very costly in the jumping.
Well, 12 jumping penalties, but the first combination, as you say, Derm, inside that time allowed of 79 seconds. And that actually drops him 4 places on the leaderboard, but this a very strong cross-country combination that could certainly be climbing back up the leaderboard this afternoon.
a fast cross-country combination. We're going to have to wait and see what happens with the time in the cross-country phase, but 12 penalties in the show jumping is very costly, Nicole. It's going to be a long way back for Picador. In terms of watching at home, I think the key one that we need to be looking for is you need to have, I would say, between 6 and 8 seconds as you turn into the final combination. That's what's getting you home at the moment. Anything less than that, it seems to be causing time penalties. So just keep an eye as you come towards that last combination. Have you got that 6, 7, 8 seconds still on the clock?
So Jorn Warner comes forward for Germany now in his second Event Rider Masters leg. And he rides Rosemary Warner's Castle King. 22nd position after the first phase, but quite a gap opening up on the leaderboard. So currently the clubhouse leader is Maxime de Bost on 53.9. So he could afford some penalties to stay ahead of Maxime, but obviously he wants to put the pressure on those coming ahead of him.
And this is jumping very economically. Jorn is on a very quick lines. He's landing on, he's landing and going, and the horse looks neat other than in the middle there in the treble, and not taking too much time in the air.
So 48.7 he sits on at the moment. That holds his position. Just taking out the middle part of the treble, and it looks to have quite a few seconds left on the clock.
Down there as well.
So 8 to add. 52.7, he'll hold his position coming down the final line.
Well, they had 2 down at Houghton Hall in 2017. They had 2 down at Chatsworth in 2017. Both CIC 3-stars. There's going to add some time penalties here, but the Irish Sport Horse keeps it to 11 to add for Jorn Warner and Castle King. I'd say they'll be reasonably disappointed. They're on 55.7. They have finished much lower than that. Their PB is 54.5, which came at Langhagen in the CIC 2-star back in 2016. Good cross-country horse, Irish Sport Horse, so they're still going to be waiting for the last, they're going to be waiting for the final phase. Alex is smiling, he knows my love.
Your little plug for the Irish.
There's no little plugs for the Irish. We go all out when we're plugging our own.
Well, actually, those time penalties just costing quite a lot of places on the leaderboard for Jorn. 4 places in total, and he drops down below Heel, Van Hoosche and Azrael. But clubhouse leader is Maxime de Bost, 53.9. We're just outside the top 20, 44.5. Paul Spizak for Poland with Banderas. His Olympic ride from last year, already been top 10 on their Event Rider Masters debut in Wiesbaden.
And he's an experienced rider, Pavel. He's been in at least 2 Olympics, if not 3, if not more, to be honest. 4 Olympic Games. Wow. There we go. So he knows what he's doing. And this looks like a careful jumper. Looks like he's having to protect it a little bit in front because it's very careful behind.
Well, it's a very good spot, Alex, because the data backs you right up. They were clearing inside the time at Barbaroco, but other than that, clear jumpers at Wiesbaden, clear jumpers at Sopot, and clear jumpers at Stragom in their last 6 runs, but picked up time penalties on each of those occasions.
And his time is certainly going to be an issue today as well, because he's only got 8 seconds on the final line, and that's not going to be enough. He can hold his position, and certainly he could afford a couple of time penalties to not cause too much damage and still put pressure on those coming ahead of him. But the last parallel goes, and 10 to add, 6 time penalties, 1 pole for Paul Spizak and Banderas. So they go forward to the cross country on 54.5. And that's a real shame for him, just that final line causing a few problems. But let's go down to John.
Thanks, Nicole. Yes, I'm with Jorn Warner, and Jorn, you jumped clear at Le Moulin, so he had high hopes for you.
Yeah, he was great in the warm-up, and he jumped really well, and I take a little mistake, and so we got 2 poles. It happens, but I'm happy with my horse. He jumps really well, so 2 mistakes.
And what's the challenge here? What's the secret? How will we get a 0?
I don't know. The time is really close. You have to ride a little bit fast and short ways, and then you need a good jumper, because I think it's high, or for a CIC 3-star it's high enough, and so you need a good show jumper, and you have to ride a little bit forward and fast to get the time and to go clear.
Bad luck. We'll look forward to seeing you this afternoon. Thanks, Jorn.
Thanks. Bye.
Well, the show jumping certainly influential. Alex Huatian, he's headed off to look after Don Janeiro, and we'll be joined in the studio in a few moments' time by the winner of leg 3. Thomas Carlyle will be coming to give us his expert opinion for the top 20, because we are into top 20 in the reverse order show jumping here, leg 4 of the Event Rider Masters at Jardy. And Donation Joly is next to go for France. Pivoine de Touche, 43.8. And just one pole covers 20th all the way through to 11th. So we are going to say a very good morning to Tom. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Dem.
Morning, Tom.
With pleasure.
We're very pleased to have you with us. We'll talk about Barbary at some point, no doubt. But first of all, initial thoughts on the show jumping.
It's a proper tough track. Huh? I mean, maybe Barbary last weekend was on the easy side, but this definitely on the other extreme. I mean, the course is big and the time is extremely tight. I walked the course this morning. I watched a few jump, and for these eventing horses, it's a really tricky exercise, because the riders have got to move forward into every fence. The distances are quite forward, and these horses don't really back off a 1m25 course, and so the rider is in between two minds. He's got to move forward for the time, but then he's got to protect his fences, and it's a really difficult exercise for them. And I've seen some very good jumpers commit some big mistakes.
And I have to say, this is the fastest round we have seen by far, and he didn't waste a second. He angled that vertical on that line very well. He's on target for the time. He needs to clear the last.
And he's in it.
That is our first clear round here, well inside the time. And that is going to be a climber. Donation Joly for France. French have dominated in the Event Rider Masters series. And that is an exceptional round.
Well, your really key one to watch with this horse, Donation's horse here, is that they've had 16 international cross-country rounds. 10 of them have been inside the time, so they have put in a great first step in what could be a big climb for the afternoon. If the time comes up very tight on the cross country this afternoon, this pair are very good jumpers. 15 of their 16 have been clear jumping, 10 of the 16 have been clear inside the time. That's the highest rate in the field. A tough cross country, and these are the ones to watch.
Yep. Donation's a very, very good jockey. He's very quick against the clock in pure show jumping. He's won 1m45 classes, so it's what we'd expect for him. His horse wouldn't be the easiest, but he's a very precise jockey. So
well, he's used it to his advantage, and that clear round is putting the pressure on, because those coming ahead of him now can't afford a pole down to stay ahead of our new clubhouse leader, Donation Joly, on a score of 43.8. Just 0.1 ahead of that comes this next man, Tim Price for New Zealand. Tim comes forward with that Ascona M. This horse, just 9 years of age, by Casaro, owned by Sir Peter Vela, Ben and Lucy Sangster and Suzanne Hushin. Bit of an unknown quantity to Tim, only took on the ride from wife Janelle this year, but went very well at Tattersalls in the Nations Cup to finish individually third, and will be looking for a good clear round here today. He can't afford any penalties to stay ahead of our clubhouse leader.
This is actually Tim's 50th CIC 3-star, which becomes a nice round number. He's jumped 16 CIC 3-star show jumping clears in that time. So he's a very experienced rider, but as you say, Nicole, this is not an experienced combination together. Ascona M, the 9-year-old mare, more used to Tim's wife Janelle aboard, but here we have Tim, and he is doing everything he can to make sure this is clear, and he looks like he's pushing he's pushing for the time, Tom.
Yes, and I saw this horse jump around the young horses at Blenheim last year with Janelle, and she's a very generous horse. You can see the air she hits over the blue oxer, and she's improved an awful lot with the back end, because she could jump with the back end inside, and she's really letting that go. As soon as I say that,
one down, but they are still on the time.
One pole down, 4 to add. This wouldn't be too expensive for Tim Price. Ascona M, he needs to clear the final double. He does so, the time is okay. So just the 4 to add, it drops him 1 place on the leaderboard, but still 47.7. He stays inside the top 20 going forward to this afternoon's cross country, and we'll be expecting him to still climb a little from that position as well. We've still got just the 1 inside the time and clear, and that is our clubhouse leader, Donation Joly and Pivoine de Touche. So, Tom, it proves to still be a real challenge out there.
It is, and with the next horse to come, Aurélien Leroy and Seashore Spring, Aurelien's one of our up-and-coming talents in France. He's an extremely talented jockey. He show jumps up to 1.50 m. On the other hand, Seashore is known for not having a very good record over the pole, so he's going to have to use all his talent to make this a clear round. But he's a really cool customer, Aurelien, and he's one to keep an eye on because he's extremely determined, and he's made a name for himself because his father Pascal is one of our French legends over the last 20 years, but Aurelien's really making a name for himself.
And there's a lot of strength and depth in France, isn't there, at the moment?
We did go through a very weak phase about five years ago, and now the up-and-coming young riders, the generations between 20 and 30 years now, they are a lot more independent. Didn't benefit so much from so much federal help over the last years, and we've all got our own structures, and we're quite hungry to come and hit the limelight. So yeah, there are quite a handful of us.
Well, the first time the Event Rider Masters is on French soil, will we have a winner for the home nation? There's certainly some good challengers coming forward, and clear so far. He's jumping the St James's Place vertical with just under 30 seconds left on the clock. That's there or thereabouts to make the time, but 43.0 cannot afford any penalties to stay ahead of Donation Sholey, our clubhouse leader.
I have them just a little bit under the time, 1 down, but as Tom mentioned, 1 down would not be a bad result. 2 down is still an okay result for this pair, believe it or not. 3 down in their last 2 runs at Bramham and Poe. Can they keep it to 2?
Well, the time ticks away very quickly, so he's going to get time penalties as well, but he clears through the final combination, and it'll be 3 time penalties and 2 down for Seashore Spring. Aurélien Loire for France, and they go forward on a score of 54.0, and that actually only drops him a few places on the leaderboard. He will go behind Donation Sholey, behind Tim Price, and behind Maxime Debos. So 3 places on the leaderboard it costs him.
Yeah, it's quite a tough score for Aurélien, but he rode a really nice round there. Hopefully he won't feel it too bad.
So next to go on a score of 42.8. I have to say, there's not many scores of 42.8 that'll see you in 17th position, but that is just how good this Event Rider Masters class is. And it is Marlon Josephson for Sweden, Allen the 5th. And actually, this combination of personal best in the dressage yesterday sets them up perfectly. They've been selected to compete in Stragon at the European Championships as an individual. Clear of the SAP Oxa at the second. That's a maximum width of 1.45 m. And they swing back to the Event Rider Masters planks. But those planks tend to jump very well because they do knock down with the slightest of touches.
They do, and they are favoured when they're in the choice of the joker. By on just about every leg I've seen, everybody favours the planks. Maybe the course designing is to give a bit more of a choice between maybe some, rather than having an upright, more like a triple bar, which would be much more forgiving for a horse than a plank. But nowadays everybody's got a good plank at home, and the horses do respect them.
So Marlon Josephson, she's got the 1 down. She'll just drop the 1 place if she can get home inside the time. The time is going to be very close. I don't think she's quite going to do it. It's going to be nip and tuck. Oh, marginally over. That is a painful time penalty. 47.8 for Marlon Josephson, and actually that just drops her behind Tim Price as well. So Donation Sholey, Pivoine des Touches continues his climb up the leaderboard for France. And just still the 1 clear round.
Still just a 1 clear round inside the time, as you say. I'm not surprised about who it came from. It came from the fastest horse in the field, Donation, on a very good show jump. But they're going to climb all the way through. We still have a couple more. We still have a couple more French riders to look out for. We have Triple Fête. We're going to come to them in a moment with Tom in the studio with some interesting insights. We've also got Cado de Roy, Cedric Liard, who I put up as one of the strongest show jumpers here in the competition. 7 consecutive clear rounds. We're going to come to those, but look who's in the ring now, Nicole. We don't have time to talk about the French. We've got Sarah Cohen and Treason.
Well, they won in leg 2 in Wiesbaden. They were 6th at Chatsworth in leg 1. They are 2nd on the series leaderboard, and this is huge in terms of the series, because 42.5 sees her in 16th position, and crucially, the big points don't start in the Event Rider Masters series points until you're in the top 15. So she could do with climbing this weekend. She can't afford to have a pole down and stay ahead of Donation.
And now is the time to remind you for the first time that nobody has ever had a pole down and won an Event Rider Masters leg. That's what she did in Wiesbaden. Other people, Ingrid had a pole down, Chipmunk had a pole down, Treason jumped clear in Wiesbaden. That's what set them up. Can she repeat the task today?
So she's on at 42.5. She needs to leave all the poles standing.
Slightly down on the time for me, Nicole.
Afford to have 1 time penalty to stay ahead of Donation. Coming to the final line, the time is going to be tight for Sarah Cohen and Treason. This is big in terms of the series. The clock is about to turn red, but they leave the fences up, and 2 time penalties costs them a place. But that is still a very, very good round from this lady. She's crucially left all the poles standing. Sarah Cohen with Pressy Spark and Vin Jones as Treason. She's still in the hunt for those serious leading series points. And Tom, you're our current series leader.
Yes.
Nervous this weekend?
I'm sweating now.
So you should be, but we'll come back to the series leaderboard shortly. Let's go down in just a moment to catch up with our clubhouse leader, because Donation Sholey is our leader and he is climbing the top 20. So John, let's see what the man himself has to say.
Thanks, Nicole. I'm with Donatienne and also with Michel Asseret. Donatienne, our first clear round. Tell us about it.
Je suis très content parce que elle a très bien sauté. Maintenant, j'étais assez confiant puisque je connais très bien cette jument. Tant qu'au cross, pour le cross de cet après-midi, je suis assez confiant. C'est une jument assez rapide qui normalement peut bien faire.
Michel.
My English is not good, but I'll help you. He said, my horse, I know my horse very well. I'm confident for the jumping, and I know it's very quick, and I am very confident for the cross-country. It's a good horse cross-country, donc it's good for the future.
Excellent. Well, I mean, your clear round is really taking you up the standings. We're looking forward to seeing you going just as fast cross-country this afternoon. Félicitations.
Merci. Thank you.
Well, how much further will he climb the leaderboard? Let's wait and see. Our eyes now turn to the young man from Finland, Elmo Jankari, with Duchess Desiree. This a horse who did such an impressive dressage yesterday, 42.1, and Elmo one to keep an eye on, because actually he took his individual young rider title here at Jardy back in 2013, but this horse's strongest phase I don't think would always be the show jumping.
No, but doesn't tend to go beyond 2. I mean, he had 2 down at Wiesbaden last year, 2 down at Fontainebleau last year. But in terms of experience, don't forget that this young rider and horse have been at the Olympics, and he only had 1 down that day. They did pick up some time penalties at the Olympics, and it was a clear round for them last time out at Stragom in the CCI 3-star, but
well, rather destroyed the planks.
He just jumped into the wing. Yeah, caught the wing with his leg.
So just the 4 to add as things stand at the moment. 46.1 would just drop him below Sarah Cohen and below Donation Sholey. But that big oxer goes as well at 8, and coming down this tricky S-bend to the maximum width dimension of fence number 10.
It had slowed them down as well, Nicole, so time is, they're not going to make this time either, so we're going to be adding some time penalties, and you can see them starting to clock up and how expensive they become. There's going to be 4 to add, so 12 in total.
8 jumping and 4 time for Elmo Jankari, 54.1. He drops 6 places down to 21st, and that'll be his score going forwards to this afternoon's cross country. Just the one clear round inside the time. In fact, just the 2 combinations have actually made that time allowed of 79 seconds so far. The show jumping definitely shuffling the leaderboard. We knew it wasn't going to be a dressage competition. Pierre Michelet's track this afternoon certainly looks like it's going to take some jumping. And we'll just see that again, Tom. He just looked to have taken a really economical line and he just clipped the wing.
Yeah, a bit too much on the inside, and it looks like in the last stride the horse spooked a bit towards the right, and didn't have enough margin to clip the wing with his foot.
So an expensive round for Elmo, but Donation surely Pivoine des Touches continues his climb. He was in 20th position coming forwards to the show jumping. He's already climbed 7 places. He is our clubhouse leader. Sarah Cohen did a good round for just 2 time penalties, but what can last year's Jardy CIC 3-star winner do? It is Gwendoline Fur for France. Gwendoline coming forward with Trent Prince at 41.4, their dressage score. And a very good dressage yesterday. Put them out in front briefly, but she cannot afford a pole down to stay ahead of Donation.
Yes, and Gwendoline won here to impress the selectors for next month's Europeans. This horse is very competitive. He would be a very good jumper on our national circuit.
Very good jumper. They did have a pole down when they won this. This is our defending champion we have in the ring. They had a pole down. They were still able to win it last year. You cannot win an Event Rider Masters leg so far with a pole down. They look okay for time for me at the moment. It's going to be tight, but they're still clear.
And Gwendoline would be a very fast jockey this afternoon on the cross country. She knows her way around here very well.
So Gwendoline Fur coming down the final line. The time is looking relatively tight, actually. I think it's going to turn red. How red will it be? Because time penalties, but just the one of them, 42.4. And that is our new clubhouse leader. She looks delighted with that. And Tom, every right to be so.
Oh, because Gwendoline's always struggled a little bit in the mind with the show jumping, but she's really coming together for her this year, and she really gets on very well with this horse. She loves him to bits.
And the cross country out there, you mentioned that she'll be a fast lady.
Yeah, I'd expect her, Donation as well, to be extremely fast around the course. But also, today my money would be on Karim Florent Lagouag, as he's a very good show jumper and he's out to prove that he is worth a bet, because he hasn't managed to qualify for the Europeans this year, but he's a jockey that always likes to win. And here in front of a big crowd at Paris, I'd put my money on him.
Well, he's been an Event Rider Masters podium before, and will he be so again? We'll wait and see. He'll come a little bit later. But now for France, it is Matthew Van Lanahan with Trouble Fate. Is that right, Tom?
I'd say Matthew Van Londegem.
Van Londegem. French lesson here. We like that a lot.
You're going to have to do the horse first as well, Tom.
Yes, Trouble Fate. He's one of my favourites in the field. He's a half-brother to my horse Upsilon, out of the same dam, and he was actually in the same field as Tenerez when I bought Tenerez, on whom I won the Lyon twice. So he's a very special horse. I had a chance to ride him when he was very young, and he's a real genius over the poles.
Do you wish you were riding him now?
Yeah, I wish that 5 years ago I had more money and I could have bought them both, but no, he's a super horse.
Well, his brother's not too bad as well, but looking at this record, it's clear at Tamur, clear at Le Puget, clear at Houghton Hall. We're still clear here so far. Time is going to be tight though.
And he's got such a good technique. He's so loose. He's cat-like over his fences. Matthew's a little bit slow on the clock.
Those time penalties could prove costly. 40.6, the time adds up very quickly. How costly will it be? Well, 4 time penalties, 44.6. It means that Gwendoline Fur, Donation Cholet, and Sarah Cohen, they all rise. So it costs him 3 places on the leaderboard.
The important one in the studio, Nicole, is Sarah Cohen is still in with a shout. Sarah Cohen, who's in with a shout, she's sitting second in our series leaderboard at the moment. She's come to France. She's going to have to make a big decision in the afternoon as to how hard she's going to push Treason across the cross country, but she wants to pick up points. She wants to catch the man who's sitting in the studio with us, Tom Carlyle, our current series leader.
Well, Treason, a cross-country machine, the fastest round in Wiesbaden when Sarah was so consistent in the dressage, the show jumping, and the cross-country, and that is ultimately what got got her the win in leg 2 even. She missed leg 3, so Thomas Carlisle, who sits beside us here in the studio, he took the Barbary title just a week ago, but now we turn our attentions to the Saumur winners from a few years ago. Back in 2013 it was Bill Levitt for Australia. Shannondale Titan, Alfie as he's known to his friends, owned by Bill alongside the Prentice family, who've been huge supporters of Bill, and Mike Prentice out here to support him in Jardy. Just a 1 pole down so far, 44.5. That sees him drop a couple of places on the leaderboard. If he can get home clear from here, it wouldn't be overly expensive. I think Bill saw a stride there, Tom, but Alfie didn't necessarily agree.
Funny enough, the distances on the course do... I said that jokingly to Maxim this morning, that there were going to be a few misses because the distances are very forward. And Bill, you could see, beginning of the course, he was maybe a bit slow in his pace to make sure that Titan would get the air. And he probably thought about the clock on the distance and got a misunderstanding with his horse there, which is going to cost him a lot.
Well, 16 jumping 2 time for Bill Levitt. You can see he saw a long one, didn't he? And
but the fence is very clear, only 3 poles. The horses do find it difficult to read those uprights, and yeah, didn't get it quite right, and that's going to cost them a lot.
He'll be hugely disappointed with that. He's never had a round like that in his career. You've got to go all the way back to Badminton 2014 for another round like that, or Hartbury back in 2012, but never have we had more than 16 faults for Shannondale title, and it's very, very rare that we have 16, only 2 in his entire career. So it's a round that you won't see very often. That's a big blip, and that's one that he'll look to forget very quickly.
Well, we're very close to the top 10, Derm. We are 11 horses to go. Leg 4 of the Event Rider Masters here in Jardy. The first time the series is on French soil, and such a strong home contingent coming forward. This man is one of them, and one of the best jumpers in the field as well. 40.0 his dressage. He sits just outside the top 10 in 11th position. The show jumping in reverse order of merit means we won't know who will be leading going into this afternoon's cross-country phase until our dressage leaders Bettina Hoy and Signor Medicott have jumped. But Derm, I know you're a big fan of Cadeau de Rouen.
Well, this is your highest rated show jumper in the field, Nicole. We've seen good form on the ones just below it, so just behind it you've got Contezet. They've been a big climber. You've got Troublefet, Upsilon's brother. They've been a climber. So you're looking at the best show jumper in the field right now, Cedric Liard. 7 consecutive clears in a row. That includes 2 Burleys and a Fontainebleau in there too. They look good for a time for me right now.
He's going for it, Tom, isn't he?
Yes, I mean, quite like Bill, he saw a distance going into the treble. The horse picked up for him. He nearly lost it down that line, but he managed to keep it together. Time's going to turn red, but it'll only be a second over.
And the last goes, so 4 jumping 2 time for Cadeau de Rouen. Cedric Liard for France. They go forward to the show jumping.
I think that's a huge moment for me, Nicole, because they just, as Tom mentioned, they just had to set up as they came into this fence here, Tom. You can see this is where they were on the time up until this point, and I think he realised he wanted to make up that 6 seconds, and that was where the pole came.
Well, the clubhouse leader at the moment is Gwendolyn Fair, who won here 12 months ago. What can she do here in 2017? Let's go to John.
Thanks, Nicole. Yes, French Championship rider Gwendolyn Fair, as we said, last year's winner here. Gwendolyn, you're very fast, but time faults. What was your intent? Were you prepared to accept time faults, or did you want that 0?
I wanted 0, but my horse is very good sauter, and he is good, and I'm very happy.
Well, we're happy for you as well in the lead at the moment for France.
Yes, and it's super.
Congratulations. Thanks, Gwendolyn.
Well, what can this man do? Because we are into the top 10. Oliver Townend, he left his series challenge in 2016 very late. Didn't pick up many points until Gatcombe. He'll be looking to rectify that this weekend because he doesn't have any series points in the locker yet. So if he is to retain his 2016 title, he needs to get points on the board and good points this weekend. So he comes forward with Angela Hislop's Cooley Masterclass, 39.1 they scored in the dressage. They went to Barbary actually for leg 3 last week, did a good dressage, 1 pole down, clear show jumping in fact, but decided not to run across the country. Saved him for leg 4 here in Jardy. But he is a man who you would not bet against, and a very economical line back to the planks. So Oliver Townend, Cooley Masterclass. Derm, they've won at this level on a couple of occasions before. What's their show jumping
3
record
occasions.
like?
You've got 2 Burnham Markets, 2016, 2017, and Ballindennis in there. They were clear on each of those occasions, although they did pick up a time penalty. They still look good on time for me at the moment, Nicole. But recent form, you've got clear rounds. Your last pole down, Nicole, came in 2014 in Buccalow. It sounds like a long time ago, but there's only been 3 international runs since then. Good for time.
Cooley Masterclass, Oliver Townend down to the final combination. He was the series winner in 2016. He is our second clear round. This is big in terms of leg 4 because he is a man that is very fast across the country. He gives us a smile. He's a happy chap. We'll be looking forward to hearing his thoughts. But 39.1, we've got a new clubhouse leader, and he's guaranteed to climb.
Big moment for me. We said it yesterday. This is going to be the event which Oliver Townend has to make his mark on this series. We have 4 competitions left. It's your best 4 counting scores. He's the defending champion of the whole series. He has made a big impression in the show jumping here. Expect him to climb. Expect this to be a moment in the ERM 2017 series.
And he's a man that doesn't often show a huge amount of emotion, but you could tell how pleased he was with that round.
He was dreading the time this morning as the class started. I was actually made a joke to him, asked him if he had his minute marker, because the time was definitely tight, and he was studying it quite seriously with Toddy. So no, he backed that.
So clubhouse leader Oliver Townend, Cooley Masterclass. What can this man do? We had him in the studio a little bit earlier on. Sir Mark Todd for New Zealand with his London Olympic ride, NZB Campino. 39.0 in 9th after the dressage, cannot afford a pole down to stay ahead of our new clubhouse leader, Oliver Townend, Cooley Masterclass.
We're looking at the 2 most experienced riders in the field, Oliver Townend and Mark Todd. They're way out in front in terms of the amount of international runs they've put in the last 7 years. You're looking at a double Olympic champion. You're looking at someone who regularly, he show jumped in the Olympics. He looks good for time. He studied the lines very, very carefully when he was here with us in the studio this morning. We have one down. That's going to be costly for Campino.
Well, that will cost him 2 places on the leaderboard. Oliver Townend and Gwendolyn Furr will rise. If he can get home with nothing else to add, it wouldn't be horrendously expensive. The time is looking tight, though. He clears the last, and a time penalty as well, so 5 to add for Sir Mark Todd for New Zealand. NZB Campino rides this horse for Sir Peter Vela, and at 44.0 he will be no worse than 12th going forwards to this afternoon's cross-country phase. But we're seeing plenty of climbers, and Oliver Townend will be watching very closely. 2 poles cover the top 10.
I can't stress enough how big that Cooley Masterclass clear round is going to be. Tom's sitting with us in the studio. Tom is still the series leader, but that was the defending champion, Oliver Townend. And looking at what we still have to come, we have Trey's in the ring now. We have Will Furlong. We have Chico Bella still to come. There's plenty that can have poles. There's 2 French contingents, Karim Leguag and Thibaut Valette, Entebbe Dehu and King de Brio. I would expect 2 clear rounds for them. So Oliver's clear round, huge. Can Diabolique follow up with a clear round? I'm expecting that this could be a pole. I'm expecting Oliver to keep the move after this round.
Well, if any of the next 4 combinations have a pole, then Oliver Townend will rise up the leaderboard. Therese Wickland for Sweden. She was so impressive in the dressage yesterday. An excellent score of 38.7. Left her in 8th overnight with Diabolique, and our ground jury, Angela Tucker, picked her out as one that was a highlight for her during the day. So what can she do here in the show jumping? Well, the SAP Oxa goes 42.7. She drops below Oliver Townend.
Well, still just a 9-year-old, so still quite inexperienced at the level. This is only her 4th CIC 3-star. Neither horse nor rider have been to Jardy before, but on recent form they had 4 down at Lamoulan, 2 down at Stragom and 3 down at Sopot. This is very much not Diabolique's strongest phase. Can they limit the damage to 1 down?
And Tom, he's just coming down to the St James's Place Oxer, but that is the biggest fence on the course, just over 1.30 m, and then you have a really tight turn back to this massive Oxer.
Yeah, and the course design has been very clever there because the time is tight, so that's the only real place where the jockeys can try and take a real tight line to that Oxer, but turning tight to a spread is very difficult on the horses. I mean, if you'd put an upright coming out the turn, it would have been a lot easier, and you'd see horses turning on a sixpence, but
and the time turns red as well, so the penalty scores kick up for Therese Vikland and Diabolique, 20 to add, and that is expensive on the leaderboard because 58.7, she drops down to no worse than 29th going forward to this afternoon's cross country, so out of the top 10, and that means that Oliver Townend, he was in 10th place overnight, he's already going to be 8th or better. But that round, Tom, it was a real shame because actually she had the second fence down. It all came back together, but then it all unravelled slightly.
Yes, and you could see the horse was very powerful, very scopy, but just wasn't very quick off his feet, and she couldn't go the pace she needed to make the time. She had to protect the fences, and that's a lot of pressure on the jockey. And as Derm was saying, the horse is only 9. She's still not got all the experience for this level, but hopefully it will come.
And that's what's so clever, isn't it? Because when the time is tight, you're forced to take risks. And when you take risks, you ride under pressure. The reverse order show jumping mentally is tough for our competitors as well. And it just builds and builds. It's like a little pressure cooker.
It pushes you off the edge, and you have a fence down.
So Will Furlong for Great Britain. Livingston come forward, his young rider, European gold medalist from Stragom a couple of years ago. And 38.6 left them in 7th place overnight. We're into the top 10 here. Leg 4 of the Event Rider Masters, the reverse order show jumping. And the planks go for Will. So 42.6 for him at the moment. He needs to leave the rest up, and the damage would keep him inside the top 10.
Well, that's key. It was 2 down at Houghton Hall, but other than that, he has always managed to keep it to 1 down. That's Arville Warragam. He has jumped clear as well. That big result that you're mentioning at Stragom back in 2015, that was a clear jumping round. At 3-star level, Piggy French had this horse and jumped clear at Burnham Market. That's going all the way back to 2012. Livingston is getting close to the time, but that is now 2 down, and that's become costly. Is that outside the top 10? It is.
Well, he just drops it down to 13th. The time is going to be very tight as well. 1 penalty, remember, for every second over the optimum, so he's going to be a couple of seconds over. 2 time penalties, 8 jumping. 48.6, it's still a very respectable score going forward to this afternoon's cross country. It'll leave him in no worse than 15th place. Will, who had one of his biggest wins of his career a little bit earlier on this summer, took the under-25 CCI 3-star at Bramham International with Colleen P2 and has been so impressive, very much looking to break into the senior squad in Great Britain. All changed this year with Chris Bartle taking over at the helm from Yogi Breisner. So we have 6 combinations still to go. What can this lady do? Gemma Tattersall, Chica Bella P, 36.3, 6th place overnight. And Chica Bella, owned by Chris Stone, who's been so influential in the Event Rider Masters series. He's the CEO, and they absolutely adore this horse. Derm, her show jumping record.
Well, we adore horse and rider. Did 1 down last time out at Blenheim, but it was very much against the trends. You are looking at one of the best show jumping riders that you will see anywhere in the world. There is only one person in this field who has a higher percentage show jumping clear rate than Gemma Tattersall, and we've still got him to come. That's Kareem Leguag. He's on a 61% rate. Gemma is one of the best riders in the world, one of the best show jumpers in the world, and she's sitting on a wonderful jumping mare, Chico Bella P.
And Tom, that distance in the middle of the treble looked to have come up quite short then.
Yeah, it walks normal, maybe slightly long, but I mean, the time's tight. They're probably riding a faster pace than you usually would, so all of a sudden the distance is shortened for you. And the mare is very generous over her fences. You can see how she lets the back end go. So she will land further out than she's taken off, which just means that she eats up those distances and gets close.
Well, the time is going to be very tight. Gemma Tattersall for Great Britain. Chica Bella P, she's clear jumping so far, but the clock is about to turn red. She gives it a good finish, but 2 time penalties for Gemma Tattersall. Chica Bella P, we haven't seen this mare run internationally since Blenheim last year. What a privilege it is to have her back. She won the final British trial for the Olympics last year. Wasn't actually Gemma's ride for those Olympic Games, but such a talent for the future, and she is a fast mare across the country as well. She stays ahead of Oliver Townend. She is our new clubhouse leader, but let's go and talk to the man who's one of the few clear rounds. Oliver Townend's with John.
Thank you, Nicole. Yes, Oliver, quite literally a masterclass.
Yeah, he's a very good horse. He's not been to an event for a long time, bar his little practice at Barbary last week, but for him to go in there and jump after 3.5 months of not eventing is a big ask, and he was pure class.
I think you quite relished the size and the scope of this show jumping track.
Yeah, I love the show jumping to be like this. I think this is what it needs to be. The time for me is perfect. The jumps are perfect. It's the Event Rider Masters. This is the top of our sport for one-day events, and it needs to be tough.
And coming up later on now, you know, has he got to turn a pace for the next step as well?
I don't know. We'd be short of runs, basically. He's not run for 3.5 months cross-country, 4 months maybe, but he's had the work at home. It's just whether it's the match practice that catches him out. It's a tough course out there, very, very intense, and he'd probably get mentally tired as much as physically tired.
Well done, and thanks, Oliver.
Thank you.
So we have 5 more combinations to go. Reverse order show jumping here. Leg 4 of the Event Rider Masters. Our clubhouse leader is the lady we've just seen. Chica Bella P, Gemma Tattersall, currently sits 3rd on the series leaderboard. And another one that'll be looking to build those series points this weekend. The series leader, Thomas Carlyle, sits behind us in the studio. You're on 56 points. Gemma's on 50 points, Derm. Sarah Cohen's on 51 points.
100 points won it last year, but don't rule out what you've just seen. Don't rule out what you've just seen, Oliver Townend Masterclass. That was big. That was a big moment. One thing that we have to remind everyone now as we move into the top 5, that so far in the Event Rider Masters series, we have had 9 competitions, 9 legs, and nobody has ever won it from outside the top 5 after dressage. Your potential winner is coming up. You're going to start with Michael Young. You've got 2 Frenchmen, 2 very, very good jumpers, Karim Legouag and Thibaut Valette. You've then got Andrew Hoy and Bettina Hoy. It could, if it follows the data, be looking at your winner in this 5.
And the top 2 have both led an Event Rider Masters leg after dressage, and both lost their lead in the show jumping dome.
Correct, Nicole. They've been here before. Andrew Hoy and Cheeky Kalimbo, it came apart for them at Gackham last year. Bettina Hoy and Senior Medicott, they had 2 down and a time penalty at Blair, which was very costly. So yes, Nicole, this is when it gets very exciting. We're into the top 5. You've been here before, Tom. You went in leading on Upsilon. You jumped a clear round. How does it feel for a rider at this stage of the competition?
Some riders will benefit from the pressure, others will suffer. Michael, he's just the coolest customer around, so he's on one of his best jumpers. Star Connection, I saw him on the Leon about 3 years ago. He's by Chaco Blue, bred to show jump. He's an extremely good jumper. Probably the best quality horse we've seen Michael sit on, so I'm expecting him to show jump very well.
I love that. The best quality horse we've seen him sit on, and he's won a double Olympic gold.
Yeah, well, I'd estimate Star Connection's jumping more than Sam's. I mean, obviously he's got huge boots to fill. He's had some trouble with his physique. He's been off injured for a year. But pure quality, I love this horse.
And it should be said, relatively inexperienced at this level. Only 2 runs at the level, but was the reserve German national champion behind Bettina Hoy, Senior Medicott. Finished on their dressage score of 35 at Le Moulin in June to take 2nd place.
It's been just interesting to see how fast Michael can run in cross-country this afternoon, because the inexperience around the 3-star is going to cost, because you can't go so fast when they don't know the job so well. But he's got the best pilot on board.
And that's a really interesting point you're making, Tom, because for all of Star Connection's qualities, and as you say, there's plenty of show jumping clears in here, he does pick up time penalties. Today, Nicole, he's clear, he's inside the time.
Well, what a masterclass from the world number one, Michael Young for Germany. Star Connection goes forward to the cross country this afternoon on 35.7. He will be our new clubhouse leader, and he will be no lower than 5th going forward to the cross country. But that was just perfectly judged.
Yeah, no, he's spot on. I mean, Michael, he wins at the highest level, both in show jumping and eventing, and his position is perfect, his balance, his connection with the horse's body is superb. And the horse is jumping lovely, he's quick off the ground, he's very neat in his technique. He gives the fences plenty of air, so with a horse like that and Michael's experience, he won't feel any pressure going into that show jumping, so he just has to do what he knows
I
best.
don't think he feels pressure, does he?
Probably just seems to bounce straight off him, doesn't it?
Deflects. Well, what can this man do? He was on the podium at Chatsworth last year in leg 1 of the series, finished 3rd on that occasion. He was part of the French team that won team gold at the Olympics last year as well. And it is Karim Florent-Leguag and Entebbe de Oos at 34.9, this stallion. Such a brilliant dressage yesterday. Tom, you know this combination well. What can you tell us?
I can tell you that Karim is a super show jumper. I mean, he show jumps 1 meter 50. He regularly wins 140 classes against the clock. On Tebe, I have my reserves on him, but Karim's very, very effective with him, and their record internationally but nationally is very, very consistent. He'll be one that knows how to go a good pace and tighten his lines. I'm not expecting him to have a time fault.
Well, actually, the St. James's Place vertical just coming at that turn. You need about 30 seconds, and he was there or thereabouts.
Tebe can be a bit spooky.
Huge moment, there's the poles, and that's what's going to make the difference. He has been pushing for the time. He had a clear round at Rio, but he did have poles here. Michael's already jumped clear behind him. He's moved down, he's out of the top 5.
Well, he just drops below Michael Young. He stays ahead at the moment of Gemma Tattersall. Gemma's on 38.3. In fact, he drops below Gemma Tattersall. So Karim Florent-Leguag, that pole, very expensive, drops him 2 places on the leaderboard. Gemma Tattersall moves up to 5th. Michael Young moves up to no worse than 4th. And we just see that again. He just didn't go and put down in the middle of the Oxer. That is huge in terms of the leaderboard. But let's go down to our current clubhouse leader.
Thank you, Nicole. Yes, Mickey Young, another clear round. We're not so surprised, but was it easy or was it hard work?
Star Connection is a super horse. He makes so much fun, and he's a super jumper. So for me, was today not really hard work. He jumped very, very, very good.
And also, as we said yesterday, this is his 3rd 3-star run this season, and he's getting better and better for you each time. So exciting afternoon.
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to the afternoon, to the cross country. I think it's the toughest course for him, what he did before, but he's in a very good condition, and he gives me a very good feeling every time in the cross country. He's super quick and clever horse, and yeah, I will hope that we have a nice round later.
Well, it's no surprise that you're maybe going to be the one to beat, Mickey. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, he's no worse than 4th going into this afternoon's cross country. Will he climb? We know that no rider has won an Event Rider Masters leg from outside of the top 5. He was 5th after dressage, but what can this man do? Because Thibaut Villette for France, King de Brio, they were 2nd at Chatsworth last year. That's the only Event Rider Masters leg they've run in, 34.8. They're currently 3rd on the podium coming forward to the show jumping. Derm, a strong show jumper.
Strong show jumper, Nicole, for sure, but there's 2 facts here. If we're going to win by the numbers, you've got to be in the top 5 after dressage, but you cannot have a pole down. Nobody has ever won and had a pole down. So if we're following numbers, we're going to be counting Karim and Entebbe de Oos out. Will the other Frenchman, King de Brio and Thibaut Villette, are they going to stay in contention here? Clear rounds last time at Badminton, which is the big one. They had a pole down at Rio, but before that, clear downs at clear jumping rounds. Chatsworth, Blair, Bramham, Fontainebleau. No strangers to clear rounds. How are they going to deal with the pressure in here today?
Thibaut's a fascinating jockey. He only has one horse, and so it's unbelievable how good he can be when he has to perform. He only performs 3-4 times a year on King, and I mean, he's a military. He's served in Bosnia. He's been in the armed forces. He's been on missions. So, I mean, he's seen more dangerous things than this. So he just stays very, very cool on his
some
horse.
Pressure for Thibaut.
And I mean, he has full confidence in King. He's a super jumper.
So he's coming down the final line. The time looks reasonably tight. He's only got 3 seconds to get home. The time could be influential here. He clears the last, and just the 2 time penalties, 36.8. King de Brio and Thibaut Villette.
It's dropped him down 1. It's dropped him down a place. Key 1 here. Dropped him down a place. Michael Young has moved up 1. We've got only one person, only Andrew Nicholson, Barbary 2016, has ever won with a time fault in the show jumping. Everyone has jumped clear. Thibaut has now followed up with King de Brio. He's jumped clear, but he has had a time penalty.
Well, we've got 2 more to go. It's heating up. Let's go down to John.
Thanks, Nicole. Yes, I'm here with Karim Florent. Karim, just the blue and yellow down, and it knocked you a couple of places.
Yeah, it's 4 points. Shit. Sorry.
But tell us also now, do you think maybe you can be fast enough this afternoon to make up this difference?
Go. Yes, it's my intention. It's a very good time and in security, yeah.
Okay.
With my horse.
Well, you're right in touch. Best of luck this afternoon. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Well, just apologies there for any offence caused by the language. Emotions running high here because it is getting very close at the top. We have 2 more combinations to go here in the show jumping, leg 4 of the Event Rider Masters. What can this man do? He led the dressage at Gatcombe, leg 5 last year on Cheeky Kalimbo. He lost the lead in the show jumping on that occasion. Can he put the pressure on our dressage leaders? It is Andrew Hoy for Australia with Cheeky Kalimbo coming forward on 34.4. Our current leader, Mikael Young, Star Connection, 35.7. Andrew, very, very experienced at the highest level, been to 7 Olympic Games, was part of the Australian team who had that real purple patch in the 1990s, took 3 team golds on the trot, and a very stylish rider in this phase. Andrew Hoy, Cheeky Kalimbo, second after dressage. They can't afford a pole down. What can they do here?
As you say, Nicole, you can't afford to pull down. You can look at their recent record, last 3 international runs. It does include that big blip at Gatcombe, which was 20. They followed up later that year with 2 down at Blenheim, and then they jumped clear at the start of 2017, Monte Libretti. Can they follow up on the Monte Libretti clear round? They're going to have 1 down, Nicole, 1 down. That, as we said already, nobody has won it with 1 down. Does that count them out already, Cheeky Kalimbo?
So Andrew Hoy, Cheeky Kalimbo, 1 down, 38.4. That keeps him ahead of Karim Legouag and Oliver Townend. So just a couple of places on the leaderboard it would cost him as he comes down the final line. The tight is going to be tight as well. Well, the time's going to be tight. We'll try that again. And in fact, 1 time penalty, and that costs him a further 2 places on the leaderboard, 39.4. He stays inside the top 10. Andrew Hoy, Cheeky Kalimbo.
So costly, that time penalty. 2 places it cost them. It pushed them from 5th to 7th. But look who's still sitting on top of the leaderboard. Michael Young and his young Star Connection. Oliver Townend has continued to move up. But Michael Young, Star Connection, they're going to be the ones to beat. However, you'll have experienced this last week. Tom, Senior Medica, Bettina Hoy, we're going to come to them after. But first, Nicole.
Well, let's go down to John because we have just 1 combination left to go here in leg 4 of the Event Rider Masters. John, it's getting exciting.
It definitely is, Nicole, and the faults are really moving around our leaderboard, around those clears. And Thibaut, you picked up those time penalties. Tell me a little bit about your feeling.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to be on time for this jumping. In fact, we have to secure the fences, and so we have to count quite fast also, so it's quite difficult, yeah.
But you're still competitive, so this afternoon you can ride for it.
Yeah, of course, but it's a last course before the European Championship, so I will see with Thierry if I try to go fast or not. I will see it.
Okay, so not only Event Rider Master tactics, but also national tactics for the championships. Thank you, Thibaut.
Thanks.
So we have our dressage leaders coming forward to the show jumping. The last combination to go. Bettina Hoy for Germany. Signor Medicott 31.4. They did a super test yesterday to sit ahead of the rest of the field. 10 combinations in the 30s, and we are expecting big things from this combination in the future. They come here on the back of being crowned German national champions at Le Moulin in June. They come with 4 wins internationally in a row. All at this level, they are more than capable. They have a fence in hand over Mickey Young and Star Connection on 35.7. Mickey is our clubhouse leader. Bettina Hoy, our dressage leader, comes forward. Signor Medicott for Germany.
Hugely impressive streak, as you say, Nicole. They're coming on the back of 4 wins. One of those wins included a pole down. That came at Chatsworth in May.
Bettina added a stride to the second fence, so she's playing the safe card. I think she's going to hope to keep the fences up and accept to have a few time penalties.
Well, she can afford to have 4 time penalties as well. She can't afford a pole down and time penalties to stay ahead of Mikael Young.
Now, this won't be the horse's strongest phase, would it?
This year has been much better, Tom, but good observation, because last year we had 2 down at Blair on this horse. We also had 2 down at Aachen. So we can have poles. They were having poles down, but they've come out this year, clear at Le Moulin, clear at Houghton Hall, and clear at Blenheim. So they're very much on an upward curve. They're finding this surface good so far. They're a little bit down on the time. We're looking at about 2 time penalties so far, is what I can see at the moment. 1 down, big moment, big moment.
A pole goes. She needs to leave everything else up. She's going to have time penalties, and it is going to be Michael Young leading going into the cross-country this afternoon, because the clock ticks up and she drops a few places. 9 in total, and Bettina Hoy, Signor Medicott.
I mean, this is how tight it is. She's gone all the way from 1st to 10th with 1 pole. And as you say, Tom, it's not the horse's strongest phase. She has won a competition already this year at Chatsworth with a pole down, but that is hugely costly. You've never won an Event Rider Masters with a pole down. Oliver Townend and Michael Young are licking their lips.
Well, Michael Young bidding to become the first German winner of an Event Rider Masters leg. He is our leader going into this afternoon's cross-country, but let's go to John.
Thanks, Nicole. Well, I'm with Andrew Hoy, and Andrew, you say, I said first part of the triple, and you said, was that where it was?
Yes, like when you're in there, you're so focused on getting to the next fence. I heard a tap, but I didn't hear it drop to the ground. So I wasn't quite sure, and then I had to come out and ask someone what actually happened. 1 rail down, 1 time penalty.
And tell us about the time penalty. Where are they coming in? Is it just simply 1 stride too many?
It's a very, very tight course. It's a very big arena, and so it's easy to go a little wide. I think there's very few that have got the time, but I'm very happy with the way Cheeky Kalimbo went, and I know the owner, Christiana Klaassen, is watching, so it's a good result, but the competition's not over yet.
Well, thanks, Andrew, and thanks for shouting out our owners as well. They're such an important part of the sport.
Thank you.
Well, in the studio with me, Thomas Carlisle for France and Dern Byrne from Echo Ratings. Tom, you won leg 3 at Barbary last weekend. The show jumping here, incredibly influential.
Hugely. I mean, as we walked the course this morning, we saw the distances were very forward. Being in a big arena, as Andrew pointed out, it's very easy to go just outside the line. You do that several times, that's 2 handful of seconds that add on, and all of a sudden you're under pressure, you have to make that up, you move into a fence a bit too much, you're unbalanced, you have a fence down and you lose it. So no, it's very, very difficult, and the fences here on the surface are very light. We see a lot of uprights with only 2 or 3 poles. It doesn't give the horse much of a visual, difficult to read. They don't respect them or back off so much, and they neglect themselves and have a fence down.
Well, it's been a really influential show jumping. Our dressage leader unfortunately won't be leading going into this afternoon's cross country, but let's hear what Bettina Hoy has to say.
Thanks, Nicole. I'm here with Bettina, who jumped last, and the reason she's accompanied by Sinja Medicod is Bettina is her own ERM supergroom this weekend. But Bettina, Mickey's overtaken you for the lead. Tell us about your jumping.
I'm delighted with the way the horse jumped, I have to say. It's a very big track, a lot of atmosphere, and I think it was the perfect preparation for Schregum.
And also, it seemed like at Chatsworth as well, you sat in, you were almost prepared to accept a time penalty, sat in to deliver the clear.
Yes, like I wanted to give him the best possible chance to produce a good jump over a fence. He's still learning, but he really tried hard, and I'm very pleased with him.
Okay, and you're still right in touch. A second podium this season?
I don't know. I definitely will go for it this afternoon.
That's what we love to hear. Well done, Bettina. She's going to go for it, as indeed are all of our competitors, because there's a lot on the line here at Jardy in this Event Rider Masters. Back to you guys in the studio.
Well, let's take a look at the leaderboard after 2 phases here. Leg 4 of the Event Rider Masters. Michael Young, Star Connection, moving up from 5th after dressage with one of the few clear rounds in the field. Brilliant from him. Donation Sholey, he was in 20th position coming forward, climbs 11 places into 9th. And Oliver Townend, of course, that brilliant clear round from him. He climbs the leaderboard too. So down into 11th, Sarah Cohen and Treason. And that is one for the series leaderboard, because those points are all important this weekend. But the show jumping has been hugely influential here in Jardy, and we'll be expecting more of the same from the cross country this afternoon as well. Alex Guatian, Don Janeiro, things not going to plan for them this weekend. At 19 to add from the show jumping, but it's safe to say we've seen the leaderboard shuffle, and we will see it shuffle even more as well, because the show jumping, it's been influential in all of the legs. Barbary last week perhaps wasn't as influential, but it's true to form here.
Yeah, we're right back to a very, very influential show jumping phase. You know what though? It followed the numbers. We expected it. We expected it to be the most influential phase today, but I guess that was until we had some more of the insight around the cross-country course. When we got here, we got talking to the riders, we've walked the course. I think this afternoon's going to be very important as well. Those time penalties, Tom, do you think that's where it's going to be lost?
The course to... I'm expecting the course to shake up your statistics, and maybe we might see someone outside the top 5 after dressage win the event.
I think you're right, and looking who's outside the top 5, I think there's 2 people I will be pointing out now. Donacien is sitting down in 9th position at the moment, but you know, 0 cross-country jumping penalties and very, very fast. If it's a jumping competition with time, I would expect Donacien Sholey for France could be one to move up. I would also not be ruling out Treason if they decide to go for it. She's a good jumper. Sarah Cohen in the cross-country phase with Treason, they could be ones to go from 11th all the way up.
Yes, I agree, and I mean, I'd also keep an eye out on Karim, because he'll be fuming to have had a fence down, and he'll be kicking Antebe around the course to try and catch the win. They all want to put pressure on Michael now.
And I think Star Connection is one that we can put pressure on. He's still a young horse. It's going to be a very difficult Pierre Michelet track, so it's going to be a question for Michael whether he actually pushes Star Connection to make the time. I think he'll be thinking about the long-term plan and not the short-term.
Exactly. I think he really rates the horse. Everybody does. And I mean, an Event Rider Masters win is fabulous, but a championship or a longer career is even more important.
Absolutely. So in that regard, he is going to be a little bit vulnerable. He's sitting in the lead at the moment. How often do we bet against Michael Young when he's in the lead going into the cross-country competition? I wouldn't be putting money on him against him, but what I would be saying is that he's a little bit vulnerable, Star Connection. Keep an eye on Mark Todd. Keep an eye on Oliver Townend. You're putting up Karim and Antebe de Who.
I think Oliver and Karim are the 2 that are really going to give it.
And the other French I would be putting up to come from a long way back, Donacien Sholey, 9th position at the moment. Fast, reliable, ones to watch.
We can't also forget last year's winners here. Gwendolyn Furt,
Exactly,
Cone
yeah.
Prince. Tom, you said they're fast across the country.
Yeah, Gwendolyn's a very, very brave jockey, and she likes to go over the neck of a horse and go flat out from start to finish, and she gets away with it. So she will win here. She'll be confident with the show jumping, and she wants to prove the selectors that she can earn a place on the squad. So yeah, I rate she can do it.
Can I ask, Derm, will we have our first German winner of an Event Rider Masters leg?
Will we have our first German winner? No, Nicole. I'm going to go against the Germans for a change. I think we've had four of our last 6 winners at Jardy have been French. It's going to be a difficult place to come past them. They're ERM specialists. We've got last week's winner sitting with us. He's not going to be winning this week, but I think it could be one of his compatriots. I'm going for a French winner from somewhere in that field.
Tom, do you agree?
I think the French have got great possibilities, but I can't rule out Oliver either. I mean, he wants to mark his ERM points debut this season. He's got the horsepower to go to the next leg, so I think he's going to put a lot of pressure on them.
If it was Oliver, nobody has won an Event Rider Masters on 2 different horses so far. Kilnabryn Evo, Oliver won 2 legs on Kilnabryn Evo. He was second to Upsilon when we went to Blenheim at the last leg. Oliver's an ERM specialist. Can he do it with Cooley Masterclass?
Well, I have to say, I don't think I'd bet against the double Olympic champion, who is our leader going into this afternoon's cross-country. Mikael Young bidding to become the first German winner of an Event Rider Masters leg. We hope you've enjoyed all of our show jumping coverage. The leaderboard has been shaken up well and truly, and the scene is set for an incredible climax to leg 4 of the Event Rider Masters. We're back live with you Central European time at 1:15 for all of the cross-country action this afternoon. Who will be on top of the podium here as the first Event Rider Masters leg in France? Will it be a Frenchman? Join us to find out. We'll be back live 1:15 Central European time. We hope you can join us.